If you're watching this right now, it's because you are going to be the coordinator for the people who are going to be helping with the child sponsorships at the New Missions event at your church. You've probably already sat there and you've looked at that box with all of these child packets in them and you've said, oh no, what am I going to do? I want to use this video to help you understand what to do at this point. Now, first of all, you're going to have a spot in the vestibule, that's what we called it when I was a kid anyway, the narthex or the hallway, as people leave, that will be a table that they can look at children. I want to encourage you, if there's any way you can, to use two tables and to separate them a little bit so that you don't have crowds trying to gather around one table. Even if your church is very small, use two tables or three if at all possible and scatter them out where people can go to different tables. Now, you're going to be provided in that packet with a note sheet. It may be 1 or 2 pages and it will have some questions on it. Now, those questions are the questions that often come up when people come up to a table and look at children that could be possible sponsors. And the reason we want you to go over those with your team is because when people walk up to the table, we want your team to be equipped to answer the questions and answer the questions honestly. We don't want to make up anything on the spot. And it's okay to say, I don't know. But most of the I don't knows can be solved with just a little meeting beforehand with you and your people to make sure that their questions are answered. We're going to ask you to explain a couple of things to your people. We're going to ask you to explain to your people, first of all, a little bit about the mission and how it started and the vastness of the mission and how many people that it is actually reaching. And that's literally thousands of kids every day are being fed by this mission. We want you to encourage your people to know that they're just not talking bodies or standing bodies behind a table. They are an integral part of bringing the child to the potential sponsor. So I want you to encourage your people to listen, to be prepared. I want to encourage you to role play. When you get that question and answer sheet, I want you to sit down behind the table and I want you to have one of them walk up to you and ask you some of the questions, and you can simply read through that question sheet and answer some of those questions. This will allow them to see how it is actually done. Now, when they come up, I want you to encourage the folks to do this. When someone comes up to your table to see the children, I'm hoping that you're going to have those children laid out in this order. Boys on one side, girls on the other, so that if people are looking for a boy or a girl, they can find one quickly. You'll kind of know a little bit about your table. You'll see where certain kids are and certain ages are. People who sponsor often sponsor with a couple of things in mind. One is that they have a boy at home and they would like to sponsor another boy and let that boy grow up with their son. Other people do it for a girl. Some people do it because they have grandchildren. Sometimes you will have a Sunday school class come up to you and go, we'd like to sponsor a child as a class. What I always do when a class says we'd like to sponsor a child, I always suggest that they take both a boy and a girl to sponsor. Let's be honest, $30 a month is nothing for an entire class. Any class can sponsor 2 children, both a boy and a girl. And so I want to encourage you to, if a class approaches you, offer them the opportunity to sponsor both a boy and a girl. But as that person comes up to the table, I want you to inform your volunteers. Don't just let them stand back. Take a child and put it in their hand. Put a boy and a girl into their hand and be there available and ready to answer any questions that they can possibly answer. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask your volunteers to be available 1 hour before the event. When they arrive 1 hour before the event, I want you to first and foremost pray. I want you to join together and pray and ask God to use your time together to change the life of a child, because literally he will. Children are going to eat today because of that hour that you spend. Now, somewhere during the event, there's going to be a break. Usually it's in the middle, but sometimes it's at the end. At the middle of the event, that intermission, folks are going to come back. Your folks should be in place a few minutes before they get there. Be in place. And I usually suggest that each person, along with what's on your table, would also have a child packet or two in hand. As people come up, they tend to stand there and just look at the table. I want to encourage you to interact with them. You need to say, are you looking for a boy or a girl? If they do not say a boy or a girl, if they say either, take those two children that you have in your hand, place those packets in their hand, and say, would you consider these? Immediately after giving that, your volunteer needs to pick up another packet and be ready to do that for the next one. Sometimes folks have a hard time in picking up one off the table. They go, ooh, am I supposed to touch them? Am I just supposed to look? Let them touch, let them see, let them read about the child. They can open up the packet if they like. Now, this will also happen. There will be a group that will come up here, and sometimes even one family will come up, and all the kids will come up, and they'll be spread out and covering your entire table. I want to encourage you to take a packet, and immediately the people who are in line, the second row people, what I call them, if you will just reach back and hand them that couple of packets back and say, here's a couple of people who you would consider sponsoring. And you can ask them if they're looking for something special. Don't let someone stand off in the distance, okay? Invite them, engage them into what we're doing, and hand them back. I often will stand behind the volunteers, and this would be possibly your job as the director and leader of these volunteers that you have at the table. I will often stand one step behind them, behind the table, and I will just simply go through some things out loud over and over as they're talking to the people. I will say statements like, tonight you do not need to have any money tonight. All we need you to do is fill out the envelope and give it to one of the table people, and they will take it from there. You will get to keep the picture, you will get to keep everything that's in the packet, and everything is in there for you to write a letter to your sponsor. Now, I will say that, and I will also say, but tonight, if you'd like to use a credit card, you can use a credit card, you can use a check, you can put it in the envelope for your first month's gift to your child. You can do that. Now, I will say that, but then I will then wait 30 seconds and say it again for the new people that are walking up. If you can answer as the leader, if you can answer some of those initial questions, how do I get started? From behind them, you will help them. And even the people who are coming up, a lot of their questions will be answered before they even get to the front. And you say, again, you're just repeating. Remember, folks, you keep everything in the packet except the envelope. You fill out the envelope, give it to one of our volunteers here. Everything else goes with you. This is the only child. There are boys here, and I will often say the boys are on the right and the girls are on the left, whichever way you have your table laid out. And I will say if there's anyone specific you're looking for. And as you're talking, if you see someone out there that's that third row person, they're waiting to come up, don't wait for them to get there. Just go over, reach, grab a group of kids and say, pass this back to those dear people right there. Let's get into the hands of the people, the children, and God will do the rest, and we'll see some great work happen because of it.